Bhagavan's teachings speak about the destruction of the ego, maranasa. My two questions about that are the following. Why do we have to destroy something which does not exist in the first place? If we are chasing imaginary enemies, we are like Don Quixote, the fictional Spanish knight who attacks windmills, mistaking them to be warriors with long arms and very tall. Would it be more accurate to speak about the destruction of the belief that we are a body-mind complex, the ātma-buddhi? I guess that's what that means.
Yeah. Ego doesn't actually exist. But though ego doesn't actually exist, it seems to exist. That is, we who are having this conversation are ego. It is as ego, but so long as we're aware of anything other than ourselves, we who are aware of those other things are ego. So though the ultimate truth is that ego doesn't actually exist at all, it now seems to exist. It seems to us to be very real. So though ego doesn't actually exist, because it seems to exist, we need to investigate it to find out what it actually is. When we investigate ourselves keenly enough, we thereby experience ourselves as we actually are. That is what is called the destruction of ego. But as I said, when ego is destroyed, it's not like there was an ego in the past and now it's been destroyed. Ego is destroyed by our seeing, but it never existed in the first place. So how do we see that ego never existed in the first place? Only by seeing ourselves as we always actually are. In other words, by seeing ourselves as Tamayananda. If someone asked this question, why do we have to destroy something that doesn't exist? No, you don't have to destroy ego if you're happy with your present condition. You don't have to destroy anything. But the fact is, none of us are happy with our present condition. We are all, dissatisfaction is the very nature of ego. So we are all dissatisfied. The mistake we all generally make is because we are dissatisfied, we think something is lacking in ourselves, it seems to us. So we are always trying to achieve satisfaction or happiness from things other than ourselves. So long as we seek satisfaction in anything other than ourselves, we are going to be disappointed because nothing other than ourselves can satisfy us. So nobody is compelling anyone to destroy ego. If you want to continue living this ego life, chasing imaginary castles in the sky or whatever, that's fine. Regarding the analogy George G. used of chasing imaginary enemies, this is what we're all doing. As ego, we are constantly, we are seeking, we're chasing after mirages. Or if I have a bigger car, if I have a bigger house, if I have a better car, if I have a more beautiful wife, if I have this, if I have more money, if I have more name and fame, if I have this, if I have that, I'll be happy. We are all seeking happiness in things other than ourselves. This is the state of Don Quixote. We are in a world of Don Quixote lived in a world of his own imagination. We are all living in such a world. We may not be jousting with windmills, but we are jousting with this world, seeking happiness in that in which no happiness can ever be found. We're like the dog chewing on the dry bone, thinking we can get some nice tasty blood from the bone, but whatever blood is there on the bone is completely dry. It's not got an atom of blood remaining in it. But because the dog is chewing on the bone is an old dry bone, so it splinters. It causes so many wounds in the dog's mouth. So the dog's own blood it sees on the bone and thinks, oh, nothing on earth equals this bone. We are like that. We are the happiness that exists within us. We are seeking outside ourselves. So what Bhagavan advises us to do is to turn within to know what we actually are, because what we actually are alone is infinite satisfaction, infinite happiness. And in the course of, in order to know what we actually are, we must be willing to give up this false identification, which is called ego. That is, as ego, we always identify ourselves as something other than what we actually are. So when we know ourselves as we actually are, ego is thereby destroyed. So why do we want to destroy? Ego doesn't actually exist, but because it seems to exist, it causes us all this trouble. Who is the one who is dissatisfied? Who is the one who is unhappy? Who is the one who is never getting never getting the satisfaction they're seeking, who is suffering in so many ways? It is only ego. But if we investigate the reality of ego and know what we actually are, we would thereby we would thereby see ourselves as we actually are. That is, when seeing ourselves as we actually are is the destruction of ego. So that's the answer to the first question. The second question, would it not be more accurate to speak about the destruction of the belief that we are a body-mind complex? Ego is not just a belief. Ego is that which believes. In fact, more than believes. It's actually our experience. It's not just a belief. I actually experience myself as this body and mind. This is my actual experience. That is the nature of ego. So merely getting rid of a belief is not what we are trying to do. Ego is far more than a belief. Ego is that way. Everything that is believed only by ourselves as ego. But as ego, we actually experience ourselves as this body-mind. It's not a real experience. It's a false experience. It's an illusory experience. But I actually experience myself. I am this body. I am sitting here. I am talking. I am thinking. What shall I say next? So on and so forth. So this is my actual experience. I'm wholly identified with this body and mind. That is the nature of ego. So it's far more than a belief. But Dehatma Buddhi, Deha means body, Atma means oneself. Buddhi means, Buddhi has a range of meanings. In this context, it means the concept of more accurately, the experience, but the body is oneself. So Dehatma Buddhi is this false awareness, this false experience, I am this body. And that is far more than a belief. So that is what needs to be destroyed. If we're just trying to destroy some belief that we may have, we remain there. The one who has that belief remains. We're not trying to just remove false beliefs. Of course, we need to remove all our false beliefs, but we can get rid of all false beliefs only by getting rid of the believer. The believer is ego.